General Hospital spoilers for the week of June 9th to June 13th tease that Sasha is living through breathless moments between two worlds. On one side, the darkness of unhealed memories of loss. And on the other, the fragile light of a life just beginning. The birth of the child is not just the end of long, lonely, desperate days, but the beginning of a new chapter, one where she no longer crumbles under the weight of the past, but begins, step by step, to build a future, perhaps alone, or maybe with Michael. In the sterile white hospital room, where the sound of the fetal heartbeat echoes through the ultrasound speaker like the beat of a new beginning, Sasha doesn't know exactly what awaits her. But she can feel something in Michael's eyes has changed. It's no longer just ordinary concern, nor is it merely duty or simple compassion, it's something deeper. More intense, a silent undercurrent fueled by the pain they both have endured. Michael stands there, looking at Sasha, but his mind is far beyond that room. He's not only thinking about his role in the baby's life but also about the opportunities it presents, for redemption, for a fresh start. And even for seizing control over a future he has never truly owned. In Michael's mind, multiple scenarios are taking shape, each situation calculated like moves in a complex chess game. He is no longer the gentle, vulnerable son who once placed all his trust in moral codes. Now, he's a man who fully grasps the weight of what he holds, a child, a bond with Sasha. And a doorway to either power or revenge. This child's story is the beginning of all his calculations, and when he decides to share this with Sasha, he knows very well, once the words are spoken, neither of them can return to the way things were. Yet the change in Michael is not something that can be hidden forever. Willow, who has weathered so many storms with him, is beginning to notice a silent distance forming between them. Her heart, once broken, is now facing another looming loss, this time, the quiet withdrawal of the man she once loved most. Willow cannot understand why Michael, the man who once saw her as everything, now looks at Sasha with such tenderness, makes decisions she's not part of, and silently pushes her aside as though her existence in his world is now just an unnecessary remnant. Willow's pain is no longer just jealousy, but panic, a fear of being left behind, replaced. And that fear has made her vulnerable, even susceptible to choices she never thought she would make. Meanwhile, Drew, once the protective figure, the steady older brother, is beginning to transform into someone entirely different. Upon realizing that Michael is quietly building an emotional alliance with Sasha and gradually distancing himself from Drew's influence, Drew begins to recalculate his strategy. He cannot let things spiral out of control. He cannot allow an unborn child to become the new center of power in Port Charles. To Drew, this isn't just a new romance, it's a threat to the balance of relationships, interests, and control of information. That's why he's beginning to make darker choices, from gathering intel to orchestrating scenarios that could damage Sasha's credibility. And even preparing to involve Willow in his plans if she continues to show weakness and emotional pliability. Each action, each decision now falls like a pebble into a still lake, creating ripples that spread through every relationship. In the eye of the storm, Sasha and Michael become the center of a dangerous matrix, where love, trust, redemption, and ambition are tangled together, inseparable. Sasha's child is no longer just her own, it is a symbol of a new opportunity, a beginning that could either save or destroy everything. And with each passing day, the child's presence only deepens the bond between Michael and Sasha, more vivid, more dangerous, not just for Willow, but for everyone who once stood by them. Port Charles, outwardly peaceful, hides a brewing earthquake. As secrets come to light, as characters begin to reveal the darker parts of themselves, and as love becomes a tool for power. The birth of a child may be a miracle, or the fuse that ignites the collapse of all that was once called peace. And the most terrifying part is, none of them may be able to control the outcome. Anna is descending into an unprecedented level of tension as her covert standoff with Brennan becomes increasingly complex and unpredictable. Every move, every glance, every word from Brennan carries layers of implication, making it impossible for Anna to determine where the line lies between strategic cooperation and deeper manipulations. Brennan is no longer the calm, trustworthy man he once appeared to be. Now, he is two-faced, hiding behind a smile layered with calculation. Slowly drawing Anna into a game she was never prepared to play. The more she tries to maintain her stance, the more she finds herself on the defensive. And this growing pressure is starting to shake even her sharpest instincts, especially now that Brennan is beginning to interfere in areas she once controlled absolutely. While Anna struggles to maintain her balance, Vaughn suddenly finds himself caught in a dangerous spiral from which he cannot escape, beginning with what seemed like small strategic shifts that now threaten to upend his entire underground network. Vaughn's changing tactics, though never publicly declared, are a clear reflection of his internal instability, and Jocelyn sees it. Jocelyn, who is fast becoming a key player in the shifting dynamics of the game. She's no longer the naive girl swept into a power vortex. Now, she steps willingly into the shadows, seizing opportunities. Using her quick intuition and innocent facade to mask the inner storm she's meticulously nurturing. With cunning and a touch of danger, Jocelyn is drawing Vaughn into a new dark scheme of her own making. No one in the WSB or in Port Charles could imagine that Jocelyn would be the one rewriting the rules from the inside. She is not just a field agent on a mission, she is a strategic architect, using both emotion and intellect to turn everyone around her into pieces on her board. And Vaughn, though still trying to appear rational, is slowly losing control. Pulled deeper into a chain of reckless actions that push him past moral boundaries and into a position he never imagined. The story Jocelyn is crafting is no longer a narrative dictated by others, it is a deliberate chain of events she has calculated, step by step, manipulating Vaughn's feelings. Sowing seeds of doubt between Anna and Brennan, and creating intersections between seemingly unrelated plans. Jocelyn is weaving a web of her own, one in which everyone is driven by forces they can't quite grasp. And when all the pieces fall into place, her final move will shatter everything that remains. This explosion won't come only from actions, but from truth, the secrets Jocelyn has gathered, the conversations she overheard, and the covert deals she now holds as leverage. As Anna gets lost in her emotional confusion with Brennan, and Vaughn falters between ideals and reality, Jocelyn is the only one who sees the whole picture, and she doesn't hesitate to use everything she has to seize control of the game. The story Jocelyn is chasing is no longer about ideals or even personal revenge, it's a high-level experiment in power. She wants to prove that even the strongest can be broken if someone is smart and bold enough to strike at just the right weakness. And when that truth erupts, they will all face the consequences of the things they once underestimated, especially Anna and Brennan, who are so entangled in their own power struggle they fail to see that it is Jocelyn who is driving them both toward the abyss. Carly and Jason are facing one of the rare fractures in a relationship that once seemed unbreakable, a deep tension stemming not only from recent actions but also from something more complex. More personal, the true identity of the child Sasha is about to give birth to. The secrets surrounding this child are no longer just Sasha's or Michael's private matters. They've become a dangerous intersection between Jason and Carly, where trust, loyalty, and blind protection begin to collide in a chaotic gray zone. Carly, who has always believed she understood Jason's every heartbeat, now feels betrayed by his silence after discovering that he is hiding something about the baby's identity, something too significant to be justified by compassion or friendship. Jason, acting on his protective instincts, has silently taken on the role of a pretend father, partly to shield Sasha from trouble, partly to keep the child safe in a volatile environment. But what he didn't foresee was that this very silence would become a double-edged sword, making Carly feel excluded from a world she thought she belonged to. For Carly, nothing is worse than being pushed out of a circle where she used to be the center, especially when that circle involves the survival of a child, her best friend, and unanswered questions about who the real father is. Carly's anger doesn't come from Jason taking responsibility, it comes from him doing so in the shadows, leaving her to piece things together in an emotional storm. The deeper she digs, the more Carly realizes that the issue of the child's identity isn't just a personal matter between Jason and Sasha. There's something bigger, a secret Jason is so determined to protect that he's willing to sacrifice Carly's trust. She begins to question not just who the real father is, but why Jason is so reluctant to reveal it. Could the identity be tied to something more dangerous, or someone Jason is willing to protect at all costs? Each time Jason avoids the question. Each time he deflects with vague reassurances, Carly becomes more convinced she's being kept in the dark. And to Carly, that intentional silence is the clearest form of betrayal. Meanwhile, Jason is battling intense inner conflict. He doesn't want to lie to Carly or push her away, but he believes some truths are better left buried, at least until everything is under control. What he didn't anticipate was that this cold resolve would bring their relationship to the brink of collapse. Carly, sharp and unwilling to be sidelined, won't let this go easily. And once she starts digging, nothing will stop her from bringing everything to light, even if it means directly confronting her best friend, the one who saved her countless times. This tension isn't just about the identity of a child. It's a battle for the right to know, for tested loyalty, and for the slow-burning cracks that could destroy a friendship years in the making. As the truth gradually comes to light, as the hidden identity is finally revealed, Carly and Jason will have to face the toughest question of all. Can they ever trust each other again? Or will this unborn child be the catalyst that permanently shatters their once unbreakable bond? Nina is entering an unprecedentedly dangerous phase as her increasingly strained relationship with Rick edges closer to a full-blown legal war, where every move could lead to total collapse. Rick no longer hides his ambition to use his power to destroy Nina, and he is now executing each move with cold calculation and strategic precision. Their confrontation is no longer just about reputation or pride, it's a life-or-death battle between two forces vying for control in a chaotic political and legal landscape. Changes in the litigation process, from evidence manipulation to altered witness statements, have turned the trial into a dramatic stage where all eyes are fixed on Nina as though she's a symbol of impending guilt. Day by day, Nina feels more cornered. The plans she once carefully constructed are now being ruthlessly unraveled by Rick, leaving her unsure of what's real, what's been twisted. And who among those she trusted might be silently betraying her. The sudden shifts in legal strategy, the unexpected resurfacing of old documents, and the reversal of seemingly settled testimonies have thrown Nina further into chaos. Once again, she finds herself not only judged by the legal system but also by public opinion and former allies who now stand on the other side, waiting for a chance to strike. Rick, a cunning prosecutor, is exploiting every loophole, every weakness in Nina's story to turn the courtroom into a display of dominance. But what's more terrifying is that he doesn't just want to win, he wants to destroy. To push Nina to the edge of her sanity. He relentlessly stirs her darkest memories, past mistakes, decisions that cost her a daughter, her place in society, and now possibly everything she has left. With every question he asks, Nina isn't just answering as a defendant, but as a woman being dragged back into the traumas that once broke her. That's the most terrifying part. The trial is no longer about wrongdoing, but about breaking a person from within. These abrupt shifts in legal tactics not only shake Nina's position but make her doubt everything around her. New evidence surfaces mysteriously, old witnesses reappear as if someone is orchestrating the entire show from behind the scenes, and every time, Nina feels like prey in a game where she holds no control. The chaos is expanding beyond the courtroom, invading her personal life, threatening the fragile relationships she's trying to preserve, especially with Willow, the daughter she thought she could finally reconnect with after all the pain. Meanwhile, madness outside the court is exploding. Public pressure, media leaks, and wildfire accusations leave Nina with nowhere to hide. Wherever she goes, judgmental stares, whispers, and slanderous headlines follow like a shadow. This is no longer just a trial, it's a public execution. And it's driving Nina to increasingly extreme, almost desperate reactions, as if she's flailing in a storm where every move could be her last. Nina once believed she could make amends, could use time and love to heal the rift between herself and Willow, and could restore her honor. But now, all of that seems to collapse in an instant. What once seemed like wise decisions are now seen as incriminating evidence. Acts once viewed as sacrifice are reinterpreted as schemes. And at the center of it all, Rick, cold, sharp, and determined, holds the knife, ready to end it all the moment Nina slips. The battle between Nina and Rick isn't just legal. It's a war between a woman trying to salvage what remains of herself and a man using the system to crush her. Minor legal adjustments, haunting memories being resurfaced. And the media storm swallowing everything. Together they form a perfect storm, where Nina isn't just fighting a sentence but her own inner darkness. And if she can't find a way to save herself, there may not be a second chance. Tracy is gradually becoming the center of a new storm of vengeance, as her desire for revenge grows stronger and begins to reshape every decision she makes. What Drew did in the past, his words, his actions, especially the silent betrayals, are no longer mere history for Tracy. They've become the fuel for a carefully calculated plan of retaliation. No longer just a woman guarding family honor, Tracy is now prepared to strike, and she's unafraid to use both soft power and political leverage to make Drew pay, not just legally but psychologically. Portia and Nina, whether knowingly or not, have become pawns in Tracy's hands. With the seasoned instincts of someone long embedded in power struggles, Tracy quickly identifies weaknesses. Internal conflicts in Drew's connections with both women, and begins exploiting them subtly but thoroughly. She knows they hold sensitive information and leverage Drew never expected could turn against him. Tracy doesn't need to act overtly. A timely suggestion, a planted doubt. A reawakened memory in Nina is enough to weaponize everything. Nina, who once believed she could move past the past and rebuild with Willow, now finds herself pulled back into turmoil as Tracy forces her to reconsider Drew's role in past pain. Portia, always skeptical of tight-knit alliances in the hospital and WSB, is now caught in a web of shadowy deals Tracy has woven, leaving her torn between keeping secrets or betraying to protect her family. Tracy, with her wealth of experience, doesn't need new evidence, she only needs to stir up old truths, just enough for those trying to forget the past to drag themselves back into it. With every move she makes, Drew increasingly senses an invisible force closing in on him. No more direct accusations, just a series of small events, whispered rumors, unexpected investigations, all slowly chipping away at the stability he's tried to maintain. Drew, once confident in his ability to manage everything, begins to lose control as relationships around him chill, allies drift away, and even those he trusted, like Nina and Portia, begin to look at him with doubt. He's no longer sure who's on his side. And that uncertainty becomes a quiet obsession, dragging him down each day. The more he resists, the more Drew realizes this isn't about misunderstandings or misjudgments. This is a calculated siege, and at the center is Tracy, no longer seeking justice or balance, but making Drew feel the kind of loss she once endured. Though Drew has survived many crises before, he now faces an adversary unlike any other. Tracy doesn't need force or threats. She uses others as leverage, the past as a weapon, and isolation as punishment. And that's what scares Drew the most. Not the sentence, not financial or power collapse, but being cut off from those who once loved and trusted him. As every relationship is fractured by suspicion, every explanation dismissed as excuse, and every step forward leads to a dead end, Drew must face one final question. How do you fight someone like Tracy, someone willing to use the very people you love to destroy you without saying a word? And when her revenge reaches its peak, will Drew have anything left but himself, staring into the ruins of unforgivable mistakes? Alexis is facing a new crisis, a whirlwind of tension and danger that is tightening around her from all sides. This is no longer the familiar legal challenges she's used to navigating. This time, it's a dual assault, both covert and overt, coming from two formidable opponents, Ava and Rick. Each of them has their own agenda, but they're united in one goal, to destroy Alexis's credibility, power, and the fragile stability of her life. Ava, with her cold cunning and deeply personal motives, appears to be exploiting Alexis's recent loss of control to gradually tarnish the image of justice Alexis has worked so hard to build. Meanwhile, Rick, always skilled at manipulating the system, is quietly orchestrating a legal campaign that targets Alexis's weakest points, her past mistakes, old scars that haven't healed, and her complicated relationships with family members. The coordinated attack from Ava and Rick threatens not only Alexis's career but also her mental health. They sow doubt, twist testimonies, recruit former allies, and destabilize the system she once held sway over. Court hearings have become more tense than ever, with every word Alexis utters cut off by razor-sharp, ruthless arguments. The mounting pressure has pushed Alexis beyond her usual calm and confident self, turning her into a version on edge, constantly guarded, and anxious about where the next strike will come from. Yet in the midst of this chaos, an unexpected alliance begins to form. Marco and Lucas, once seen as peripheral allies, are now emerging as Alexis's most crucial lifelines. Marco, with the sharp instincts of someone who's long observed the system from behind the scenes, quickly senses something off in how Rick and Ava are operating. He quietly begins collecting information, following vague clues others overlook, and uncovers a series of murky connections behind the sources Rick is using. At the same time, Lucas, driven by empathy and unwavering loyalty, offers not only emotional support but also strategic help. He doesn't hesitate to leverage his connections in the medical and legal fields to mobilize resources needed for a counterattack. With Marco and Lucas by her side, a major turning point arrives. Alexis slowly begins to regain her footing. Step by step, she strikes back, re-examining evidence, forcing Ava to explain inconsistencies in her testimony, and putting Rick on the defensive. However, that swift reversal only pushes things into even more volatile territory. Ava, cornered, begins to lash out more aggressively, even showing signs of resorting to personal and dangerous tactics, dragging figures from Alexis's past into the spotlight to create a media scandal. Rick, unwilling to be outplayed, intensifies the legal pressure, deploying hidden allies to isolate Alexis from her official support channels. What Marco and Lucas ignite isn't just a tactical pushback, it exposes a deeper web of schemes with far-reaching consequences no one could have foreseen. What once seemed like a three-way battle has now escalated into a conflict threatening to fracture political alliances and shake up the standing of key figures in both the legal and medical communities of Port Charles. Alexis realizes that while she's beginning to reclaim her voice, the cost of resistance may not be just a legal victory, it could mean the collapse of her entire life stability, the reputation of her loved ones, and the future of a system she once believed she could control. And the craziest part is, it's not over. With every setback, Ava and Rick grow more ruthless, more daring, as if Alexis's downfall is the only outcome that will satisfy them. While Marco and Lucas strain to protect a crumbling fortress, Alexis, though resilient, cannot ignore the sense that she's trapped in a game where no one truly gets to win. When attacks extend beyond the bounds of the law, when hatred has surpassed reason, can Alexis still stand her ground? Or will her faith in truth and justice be drowned out by the very people who once claimed to serve the law? The answer waits at the end of a battle that's only getting more unhinged, and shows no signs of stopping.